Hi everybody, so this is part 4 of the second consumer unit install. So second consumer unit is going to go in that space there, if you remember from previous videos. And what I've done previously is to install a double pole isolation unit so I can cut everything off nicely, and then I've got two Henley blocks in there so that I can separate the tails. This set of tails goes to this consumer unit, then I can fit a second set that goes over there. Very difficult to film in this cupboard, it's very small, but the first order of business is to get this plate installed here. So I've made that up out of 12mm pine. I'll get that installed and I'm going to mount that using these spacers. So they're about 20mm, so I'll put those behind and then that'll give me access for some cables. So I'm going to have to do a lot of this off of camera just because of the amount of space in here, but I'm going to have one mounting point here, one down here, and then a couple over there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera and then I'll come right back. Okay, so I've marked out the panel where I'm going to drill it. I'm going to put one here, here, one at the top, and then one here and here, and that'll free up lots of space in the middle that I can run cables behind as needed. So this is the size screw that I'm going to be using, 3 inches, so that allows enough to go through the panel, the spacer, and then into the wall for a raw plug. So I'm going to drill it just slightly bigger than the screw for clearance. So just pop that into the drill, and let's drill those through now. Increase the speed of the drill might help, I guess. That's one. That's one. All done. Next thing I'm going to want to do is countersink the holes. These are countersink tips screws, so that means it will fit nice and flush and won't interfere in anything. So if I just do that, slow that down slightly, and then there we go. So there's the first one, countersunk. That will go in there nicely. So I'll just go ahead and do the others. That's 2. 3. Okay, so I've finished drilling all the holes. This is how I'm going to fix it to the wall. So I've got a spacer, as I said before, 3 inch more or less countersunk posi drive screw, and a raw plug. So there are the holes. So if I just show you what that's going to look like, the screw will go in from the front, which gives us this view from the back. So I can then put the spacer on here, and then the raw plug in the wall, so then you can see all of this will be a space behind the panel, so I can run consumer tails and the actual load feeds to outside the house. So I'm going to go back into the consumer unit cupboard now and just spot through these holes onto the wall so I know where to drill the holes for the raw plugs. See you back inside. Okay, so back again. The mounting plate is now mounted on the wall. I've only put 3 screws in for now because I'm going to have to take this off later to run the cables behind, but you can see that it's mounted nicely. If I get a spare bit of meter tail here, as you can see, this is 100 amp, that slides under neatly. So with the spacers I've now got plenty of room under there to run cables as needed. So the next job is to mount the consumer unit, find a good place on there to put that, and then to mark that out and drill some holes in the back for access from the cables. The cable's going to be coming up from under the floorboards, I'll mount some conduit up here to protect the cables, and then everything will go nicely and safely under here. So I'll be back in a sec with the consumer unit. Okay, so the rear carcass to the consumer unit is now mounted, as you can see. You can see at the back there's some screws that go direct through to the mounting panel. I've also, as you can see here, knocked out one of the knockout panels at the back. So the plan is to drill through here, and then I can run the new tails from here behind the service head, behind this panel. If you remember, I've now mounted this about 20mm proud, so that will go behind there, pop up through here, and then into the consumer unit. So next job, if I just mark on here with a pencil, I'll remove the rear of the consumer unit carcass, drill that through, mount it back up, and then I can start passing all the cables through and terminating everything. So I'll do that off camera. This cupboard is so small I can barely move, so I can't hold a camera and the tools at the same time, I'm afraid. But I'll be back once I've done that bit, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so the consumer unit chassis is mounted to the board, as you can see, and I've also run the tails underneath and through the back and into the double pole 100 amp isolator. I've also put some colour coding onto each just to reinforce that they're live and neutral. They do actually have a coloured coding inner sleeve anyway, and then you can see the tails come out over there, and they're just resting in place, they're not connected up. So I'm going to do the rest of the fuse board before I connect that up to the power supply. So I'm going to put RCD in here, and then 4 MCBs. So the next stage will be then to loop the live and neutral out of the bottom of the double pole isolator, loop underneath and round into the top of the RCD, and then out of the RCD the live will go into a common rail along the bottom for the MCBs, and then all the supplies for the household loads will come off the top of the MCBs, and the neutrals will come from the top up there. Anyway, I'll do that as the next step, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so back again. So now you can see I've got the 2 tails coming in from here eventually, the separation blocks that I've used, Henley blocks, and then I've also got the earth coming in, and then they're both going into a double pole isolation switch rated at 100 amps. Then the live and the neutral come out of the bottom, and they both go into the top of this RCD. Then out of the bottom of the RCD we've got neutral going up to the common rail for all the supplies to the house, and then I'll have a live coming out here, bus bar, which will connect all the MCBs. Then at the top of the MCBs they'll go off the live feeds to the remaining circuits. So that'll be the next stage. You'll see all the feeds coming in and connected up to the MCBs, and then when that's all done and all the circuits tested, that will then be connected into the Henley blocks. For now, you can see I've just left the tails laying loose and not connected to anything. So back again shortly. Okay, so back again. I've moved on a bit more. Now I know that the consumer unit is all fitting nice and squarely. I've started to run the feeds into the consumer unit. So from the floor I fitted some flexible conduit, 20mm, that goes into the side with a grommet, and then inside you can see the cables coming in there. I've just put them neatly around here temporarily until I route those to the individual MCBs and the neutral rail and earth rail. So I just thought I'd show you that. I've got another one I'm going to push in here. I've got a total of about 5 cables, so 3 will come in through there. I've got 2 cables coming in through there. So I just thought I'd show you progress. And then the flexible conduit, I'll get some clips and I'll pin that to the wall. So it's just laying there loosely at the moment. There's no power in it, so it doesn't matter just yet. But that will all be sorted out and looking tidy. So I'll carry on and then come back when I've got these all connected in neatly, and then I'll start to run the other cables. See you in a few seconds. Okay, back again in this tiny cramped cupboard. So just to give you an update, the second consumer unit is now mounted. I've run all the cables from under the floor up these two flexi tubes, as you can see here and here. You can see the cables are coming in there and at the bottom. So I've just grouped the cables together for now. You can see the DIN rail in the background. So now next stage is to mount my RCBs. So the RCBs mount using this notched out mechanism. They just slot onto the DIN rail, and then there's a clip at the bottom which you push and they lock into place. So if I just take that off, you can see here, let's just put that on the floor, you can see at the bottom, if you push this, oops, let's just get that in place. If you just push this clip there, that just locks in place, so that keeps the RCB on the DIN rail. So the next job is just to slowly mount the 4 RCBs, 2 lighting, 2 main circuits, and then an RCB to protect those, and then I've got a double pole isolation unit. You can see the tails there all ready to go in to the main isolation unit. So as I said, because this cupboard is so damn small, I'll do some wiring on sort of on a per RCB basis and then report back every now and again. I just need to get these cables coming in nice and neatly so I can take all of the neutrals to the rail at the top, all of the earths to this rail, and then obviously the lives will go into the top of each of the RCBs, just at the top there, and then at the bottom the live will feed via a copper live bus. So we're getting there, not much more to do. The only other thing I want to do as well, possibly the earth that goes in there, I may, rather than connect it to the service head pipe as it has been done by the electrician, I may get an earth block, mount it on here, and then I'll take a separate earth from here to the earth block, and then from the earth block I can go into the consumer unit. But once I've got that earth block, that just gives me some flexibility in case I do anything else out here, and I've got easy access to a convenient and secure earth. Anyway, so that's the latest update. I'll see you back in a few seconds. Okay, so I'm just pausing a sec to show progress. I've connected up 2 RCBs. You can see I've got the 32 amp and the 6 amp. So I've tried to keep everything nice and neat, so you can see the cables coming in for these 2 circuits flow along to the top, and then equal length for the neutrals for circuits 1 and 2. These correspond to RCBs 1 and 2, and then you can see the earths which flow underneath. I'm not quite sure if you can see that. Keep that nice and neat in a loom, and they go into points 1 and 2. So just thought I'd give you a quick update. All I've got to do now is terminate these remaining 3 circuits there, and then populate the rest of this DIN rail. So it's looking good, looking very neat and tidy. Very happy with that, so be back again soon. Okay, so here we are, almost done. As you can see, all the wires now have been run in and connected. I've got 4 RCDs there, MCBs, and then so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I've got the RCB protecting those 4 circuits. You can see I've got all of the lives going to the loads in the house. I've got all the earths in, got the neutrals in. I've got you can't really see it because it's behind this piece of plastic, but there's a common copper buzz bar in there. So what happens is once I connect the tails to these Henley blocks, the power will come into here, live and neutral. I'm just missing here the double pole 100 amp breaker, so the live and the neutral will go through that, come out the bottom into these triplex 100 amp cables. They loop round, go to the top of the RCD, and then from the RCD you've got the neutral going up to the buzz bar, and then you've got the live going along the copper buzz bar. So almost finished. I just want to get myself a couple of 25mm squared ferrules for this, so they get a nice connection into the double pole breaker. So I'll be back as soon as that arrives. Okay, so it's all done, all connected up. All I need to do is get some clips around the flexi hosing just to clip that to the wall and to the backboard, but it's all done. Second consumer unit installed there all neatly. So I put an earth block there, so I've got some scope in the future to add more earths for other things that I might fit. You can see the earth comes from the service head and loops round to that, and then the earth goes through underneath the backboard that I installed and into the consumer unit. So you can see here all connected up. I've got on the left there a 100 amp double pole breaker. Then I've got my RCD, and then I've got my 4 MCB circuits there. Nice metal enclosure, and you can see I used the 2 blocks there, the Henley blocks coming down from the 100 amp double pole breaker that I installed, and down to the Henley blocks. Then each of the tails, 2 pairs live and neutral. 1 pair goes off to the existing consumer unit, and the other pair goes off to the second consumer unit. There, all been coiled round, so there's no strain on the Henley blocks there. So overall, nice neat installation. I'm very happy with that. So now the second unit will power everything outside the house. I've got a socket circuit for the front and one for the back, and then I've got a lighting circuit, one for the front and one for the back garden. So I mean, the whole rationale for doing this was really just to isolate the outside from the inside. You never know what's going to happen outside. You could get rodent damage, water erosion, faulty units, let the rain in. This way, this unit will trigger and go off, but it will not affect the inside of the house. Anyway, that's this series done for now. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you know when I upload some new videos. Take care, everyone.